Hello and welcome into another episode of Rolling with My Special Friends. Today we got a very special guy with us that I wanted to bring in and be able to tell his story because he's, over the years of coaching so many different colleges that he's been with, also playing college football and enjoying some great times. He's changed so many people's lives in his path over many different states. And I thought it would be amazing to get him in here and hear the other side of the story. You know, not only being a great football coach, but an offensive coordinator and doing a lot of things that changed the game. He's changed lives. So we want to bring him in and talk to him and let you guys learn the rest of his story. Coach Nall, how are you today?
I'm good, Jim. Doing good. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Now, as we love to do on our podcast, we just jump right off into these things with both feet and try to hear some stories. Tell me, where did the love for football come from? Was that a mom and dad thing, or did you have kids you played with growing up, or what?
That's a great question. I'd have to say it's the hometown I grew up in. Thomaston, Georgia was just known for high school football. And I can remember after the games when you won, riding around the square, blowing the horn as a kid. And, I just always looked forward to getting old enough to play high school football. And luckily, I was able to do that for 4 years and then get a scholarship to University of Georgia. So it started watching a lot of great players before me that went on to play in college out of my high school.
So that drive has always been there then to where you wanted to from high school to get into college. So as you just said, Georgia came calling. When Georgia called and had that scholarship offer, what'd that feel like?
Well, it was a great honor. Once again, I wasn't very good. Matter of fact, I remember the coach that recruited me, they really didn't want me, Jim. He said in my living room, he let me know, he said, "Hey, we got you a scholarship. We really don't care if you come or not." And of course, that I think he knew I would take that as a challenge, and I was lucky. And 4 years at Georgia, I never missed a bus or a plane. I lettered 4 years, and was lucky to be around a bunch of great players and great coaches, and was able to contribute a little bit to winning some games.
Well, and that's, the path that you took to get up through too. You've been around, as you said, some amazing athletes. What is it like to know Herschel Walker?
Herschel, people they really don't know what a great guy he is. I mean, he is just a super guy. When he comes across being a nice guy, that's the way he is. And he's been that way since I've known him. I first met him 40-something years ago. And he was in town here last week for an event, got to see him, spend some time with him, and just a special guy that truly loves people, understands that, he's got the same philosophy I do of do right, and that it doesn't matter who you are or where you're from, as long as you're a do right person, and, we're going to be supportive and love you and help you grow as a person any way we can. And that's Herschel's philosophy. I mean, he's a super guy. And then just probably, without a doubt, the best athlete I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was fixing to be my next question. You've been around a lot of athletes, coaching them and watching them on TV and everything. Do you really believe if there was a competition, being the Bo Jacksons of the world that played baseball and football and everything, do you still believe Herschel's number one?
Well, I do. I mean, I'm a Herschel fan. Of course, Bo Jackson was a great player, needless to say, and both sports, football and baseball. But and I've had the pleasure of meeting Bo. When I was coaching at Auburn, I got to know Bo and got to meet him, and but not nothing like I know Herschel. It's a big difference between just meeting somebody and then being a teammate.
Right. Well, and also to bring light for people into this new age of college football. We got this NIL out there now where people are getting paid for their name, image, and likeness, and a lot of teams giving them money just to come play. So if we were to roll back the clock and went back to your playing days at Georgia, which sponsor do you think would have come calling for Hugh Nall?
Probably either Browning or Remington or something to do with a shotgun and a hunting trip, I think. So.
Well, that probably sums up Thomaston, Georgia, then, doesn't it?
It does. It grew up on a little river over there called Flint River, and it had a shoal bass in it. Loved fishing for those shoal bass, and every spare moment I had, I was either deer hunting, turkey hunting, or fishing for shoal bass.
Well, and that's what they say. A lot of guys choose their careers so that it affords them to be able to do the things they love. And I think that's kind of what you've took the path on of coaching and now doing the trucking business, that it allows you to be able to go hunting and fishing.
Well, it does. And that's, once you got out of the coaching business, of course, your fall is pretty much taken. So I never did hunt a lot when I was coaching, in the fall, but that's where I learned to love turkey hunting, because you did have more free time in the spring coaching college football, and I became an avid turkey hunter, and still that's by far my favorite. If I gave up all other hunting, that would be the one I would keep doing. So,
right. Well, now to jump people from, we're talking about you coming out of University of Georgia, and now that the college career is over with, and you jumped over into the coaching side of game. What gear, what moment, what coach, who inspired you to get into the coaching side of the world?
Jim, I was one of the luckiest people alive when it came to that. We had the defensive coordinator at the University of Georgia, a gentleman named Irk Russell. And after I was lucky enough to play on Georgia's national championship team, played center on that team. And in the spring of 81, I get a call from Irk Russell, and he said, "Hey, Hugh, I'm going to Statesboro and start a football program. I want you to go with me." And so I went with him, and Jim, matter of fact, I don't even think they had Walmarts in. They had to go to Kmart and get a football for the press conference. And I remember driving to Houston, Texas, and anybody that's blue and white, we'd go visit. And Rice University gave us a bunch of old uniforms and old jerseys. And Duke University gave us a bunch of stuff. And that's why we started that program as a club football team for 3 years. And hand-me-downs from anybody that would give us something. And that's the way we started that program. And so I was there for 4 years. And but being around a man that like Irk Russell, there's never been, he was such a great motivator, such a great, smart person, and just fun to be around, and players loved him. When I was at Georgia, all the players loved him, defensive line coach. And, did I lose you? I didn't lose you, didn't I? Anyway, he was the defensive line coach, but every player on the team loved him. And it was certainly that way once he went to Georgia Southern, had such a great career there.
Yeah, that's one of the inspiring things about talking to coaches, is it seems to be that they impact somebody's life so much that it just changes it. They take a path and they want to go out there and do the same thing because they got inspired by the coach before them. So, and I can see on the list of here, you've had TCU, Auburn, Ole Miss. What out of those jobs that you had come after that first job that, you kind of started from the ground floor, which one of those three was your favorite?
Well, to say a favorite, that's hard to say, other than it was just an honor to coach at all those schools. TCU is such a great place. Really enjoyed Fort Worth. Oxford, Mississippi is a great place, and Ole Miss is a lot of great tradition, and enjoyed being there for 4 years. And both my daughters ended up going to college there. So that was a great place. And then being at Auburn for 10 years, which is really unheard of. And all my Georgia buddies hate it when I say this, but Auburn's a great place. And a lot of great people. And it was good to live there, and especially be there for 10 years. And all my kids were able to graduate from Auburn High School, which is unheard of in the coaching industry. So they really enjoyed Auburn. And so, but I guess my favorite is every player I coached. And that's whether it's at TCU, Ole Miss, or Auburn, that association you have with the players and the managers or the trainers or the doctors, that medical staff, or the academic staff, whoever it might be that was involved in every place, was just an honor to be a part of.
Well, you never know down that road of life who you're going to run back into and circle the wagons back around.
That's right. And I was raised in a home that my mom was a Methodist preacher's daughter. My daddy was a high school counselor. My mom was a nurse. So I was raised that you love all people. And that was a great raising to become a coach. I really believe that, because once again, I didn't care who you were, where you're from, what you look like, or whatever. As long as you're a good team member and hard nosed about your job and school and off the field and do right, then I was the biggest fan of all those players.
Well, and that seems to, coincide with also what I've read here in the recent days of reading up on some of the past of awards and things you got. I'm not sure if you know, but in 2006 and 2007, you were voted one of the top recruiters in the entire nation as far as for college football. So they put you in the top 5 in the country. So that speaks a lot for what you're saying. You were able to, talk to these kids and get them to come play at a sport because they felt the love coming from you. If you had to, kind of give us a little bit on how to recruit somebody, what was the way, if you came in and sat down in our house and wanted our son to come play for you, what was that like?
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Needless to say, recruiting's the number one. I wouldn't say the number one, but it's certainly mighty crucial to success in college football or any sport. But I think the big thing I did, just like what you said, I think every young man that I ever recruited, I think they understood that, I believed in them but they could count on me. And I'd always say, there's 3 things I want you to understand. I said, I'm going to help you be the best you can be off the field, in the classroom, and on the field. And it's going to be in that order. And if you get out of line based on your ability, then I'm going to take corrective actions in order to encourage you to be the best you can be. So I try to tell them, hey, look, if you want to go somewhere and be buddy, you don't need to come play for me, because I'm gonna take it from the standpoint of making sure you're the best every time you step on the field or in the classroom. And if you're not doing what you need to do, if they miss training room, appointments with rehab, whatever, I'd get on them. I wanted to, but I'd make sure the parents understood that they need to understand I'm going to treat them with the most respect and love. But then again, when it came to, if they were making a mistake or not pushing to be the best they can be, then there was going to be corrective actions, and they might not, there might be some days they left the field, they didn't really like me. And I'd make sure they understood that, right up front, and that it was that not only them, but their parents or grandparents or whoever were the key people in their lives understood that.
Well, and that's pretty amazing to me. And that's one of the things that I keep saying that people are missing these days in their life is somebody, a constructive male, a great father in there to show them right from wrong. And there are some days they're going to get on you and you're going to get your feelings hurt. But then in the end of the day, you look back and go, gosh, they love me because they got on me.
Well, you're exactly right. And one of the things I always try to do too, if a kid had a really bad day, I'm sure you might have seen this at Auburn sometime, but they had a bad day and I got on them. I tried to make sure before they left the field that day, or I'd go and find them in the locker room and say, hey, look, I want you to understand what happened today. You're so much better than that. I'm not gonna allow that to happen. So it's, you make sure they understand it's nothing personal. It was nothing other than you being a coach. And that's what a coach should do. You should, push that individual to be the best they can be.
Now that we've got into that part of it, I want to jump over into some of these things where people really get to know the change that you just talked about in these kids' life. Give us some stories on some kids. You don't have to name names, or if you want to, that's fine too. But tell us a kid that you maybe coached and really got on in college, and then now you've seen them turn around and they've started their own company. They're doing their own organization. They're doing great things out there.
Needless to say, there's a lot of great memories, especially coaching, 35 to 40 kids a year as far as coaching offensive line. But, one of my favorite was a two-time played NFL for a long time, He was from Queens, New York. Now you can imagine me going into Queens, New York, recruiting a young man to go to Ole Miss. And but anyway, we recruited him. John Lovett recruited that area, and then we knew Teuton had a lot of potential. He wanted to be a tight end, and I told him early on. I said, Teuton, you could be a decent tight end, but you got a chance to be a great offensive lineman. And but anyway, I remember Teuton calling me when he finally retired from the pros and thanking me for pushing him to make that move from tight end to offensive line. But one of the funny things he said was we were playing LSU one year in Oxford, and we beat them in overtime. But right at the end of regulation, I looked up and we had gone ahead right before they tied it up, and Teuton was celebrating on the field in the huddle dance, acting like we'd already won, So you can imagine what, even though we won, but you can imagine me addressing him after the game that was unacceptable. I better never see him celebrate ever again before the game was over. And anyway, that day he called me to thank me for he made more money he could ever spend. And he had a beautiful family, great family. But he said, Coach, I want you to know I never celebrated. I never celebrated again till the game was over with. So, there's just a lot of great memories of a lot of great players. That's one that Teuton went on, and he started a program in it's out of the boroughs, I think it's called, something like, where he helps young kids in New York City, giving them a chance to get their college education paid for and go into school. And so he's gone on to do some great things, not only playing and making money, but he's taken his money and started a foundation to help other people. And that's the kind of stuff you love to see.
Yeah, that most definitely shows where he's come from, showed what kind of effort you put into him, and showed him the right ways in life and how to do things. Now, and I also know there's a ton of other stories out there. I'm going to throw one name at you that you and I both are real familiar with, and kind of give us some background too, because he's a very special person in what he had to deal with when he played ball. But Kendall Simmons, a lot of people know, had diabetes and had to really control that as he played. How much as a coach were you involved in that?
I wasn't that involved in actual any type of thing to do with that, other than being aware of it. And of course we had such a great medical staff. Mike Goodlett and I think Mike's still there at Auburn, I think, but great medical staff. At Auburn, and they took care of those guys in the best way. But I was certainly aware of that, and any time that something had to do with that, we were aware of it and knew that their safety or their medical condition always came first. But Kendall you're right, Kendall was special. He and Terrence Metcalf, who played for me at Ole Miss, probably if not, probably two of the best that I ever coached. And of course you got Ben Grubbs and Todd Wade, like I mentioned, Teuton, and Geno James. I mean, there's a bunch of great ones in there, but Kendall was special because he's one of the nicest people you ever meet until he puts that helmet on. And those are the kind you like to coach. He and Metcalf the same way. Of course, Terrence's son DK is pretty good player too. So, but anyway, Kendall was special, and like going back to what your question was, no, I didn't have a lot to do with that, but I was aware of it and knew that the medical staff always had the say so on anything to do with a kid's safety or health.
Yeah, and that's the reason I was bringing that up, because it's pretty special on Kendall's behalf, not only to be a great college offensive lineman, All-American as well, go play in NFL and win a couple Super Bowls. The diabetes that he had to play with every day, coming through college and becoming an All-American, becoming a NFL champion, Super Bowls. Then he turns out to be, go back into the college game and is working at Auburn University now as an analyst. But what I've been even more proud of watching him, and I can see some of the things from you coming out in him because I saw how you coached him, is how he's giving back. I've saw him a lot of things out there in the diabetic community, that he's out there going on rides, he's doing fundraisers, he's doing things to bring awareness to that. So I've always just had a special place in my heart for any player that overcame I won't call it a disability, but something they had to deal with and still still performed at the highest level.
Yeah, I know he really got involved. Well, he's involved the whole time he was playing, especially in Pittsburgh. But then once he got out, and he stayed involved, going around speaking, and yeah, he's a special person in that he was encouraging. People don't let that hold you back. You still can perform at the highest level as he did. With diabetes, and I was proud to see him. And of course, once again, as we mentioned, knowing Kendall, that's the way he is. He's going to go out of his way to try to help other people.
Right. Well, okay. So now tell us, for everybody that loves to listen to our show, also wants to know some things that the rest of the world don't know, that get to hear every day. Tell us a funny Hugh Nall story that nobody knows.
Oh, Lord. That's a good one. I tell you what, probably one of the, when I got into to Texas coaching at TCU, I was supposed to be in the weight room. I got there in January and supposed to be in the weight room until spring practice. And then after spring practice, I'd start taking a recruiting area, which was South Texas. Well, anyway, something happened that I got into town on a Friday night in January of '89. Something happened, and the head coach is a gentleman named Jim Wacker. Jim came in my office on Sunday night, and he said, "Hey, you got to go. You got to go recruiting tomorrow morning. You got to be in Bernie, Texas at 8:00. There's a big offensive lineman. You need to be there." And I didn't even, Jim, I was in Fort Worth. I didn't even know where I was. And anyway, he gave me a set of car keys, a map, and 2 gas credit cards, and a list of players. And I took off and spent the night down there somewhere near San Antonio. Bernie's about an hour outside of San Antonio. So I walk in the next morning to the high school, and the high school coach was what you would expect: blue jeans, cowboy boots, rhinestone shirt, and perfect Texas coach. And anyway, we start talking, and I'm selling TCU, what a great place it is, and all this. He's just looking at me. Finally, I quit talking, and it got quiet. He said, "Boy, where are you from?" And I'll never forget that. I said, "Coach, I'm from Georgia. I got in town Friday night. I don't even know where the heck I'm at right now." And he started laughing. He said, "Well, you're going to do really good in Texas, because we love it when somebody comes to town and talks slower than we do." We got to be big buddies after that, and that's just a recruiting story, the relationships you get with coaches. But no, I'll never forget that. He liked the fact I talked slower than him.
Well, now, and tell us too, I happen to know about a story that you had an altercation on the sideline one time of getting run over. To put people into that picture, how does it feel to be in the front row seat of the ball game like that? Well,
I tell you what, I think you're probably referring to when I was at Auburn. We were playing Arkansas, and we threw an interception, and I thought I'd seen a flag. I was hoping I saw a flag for a pass interference call, and so I step out to look back. And about that time, one of their players blocked, one of our players, and one of their helmets catch me right underneath the chin. And I'm not even looking. And all I remember is waking up on the bench, and everything was in slow motion, and all the players are looking at me, "Coach, you all right?" And, I was out of it. But that was one of the hardest licks. I remember that. You don't ever forget those. But no, when you're on the sideline like that, you better be paying attention and have your head on a swivel. And I didn't. I made that mistake of not paying attention to where the action was. And but yeah, that was. I think you said you saw that, did it? So it got caught on TV. Huh?
Oh yeah,
yeah. I need to go back and see that. That's probably why I've been having neck problem ever since.
Well, and that's another, like I said, lighter side of the story that most people don't get to see. They see you guys on the sidelines and doing the coaching and winning ball games, but they don't realize how close to getting hurt somebody is too.
Yeah, no, it's full speed all the time, and it's a great game. But then again, you safety is something you got to think about at all times.
Well, and I just, from knowing the backstory and being able to read and do a lot of things to understand all the stuff you've come through to get to where you are, it's amazing to see all the lives you've touched along the way. I've run into other players that you've coached before, and everybody has nothing but high regard for you and the way you handled yourself and the way that you've, changed their life. And I just think that's pretty dang inspirational to have a coach out there that's willing to do that and interject what you grew up, that country boy, Thomasville, Georgia, kind of living into them. And some of them need that. Some of them grew up in cities and they need to know right from wrong and how to treat somebody. And, you help somebody no matter what's going on.
Well, that's right. And once again, I appreciate you saying that, but I truly had the honor of coaching a lot of great people, great young men, and be around a bunch of other greats and support staff, at every place I was at. And anybody that's in the business, and Jim, you know this from your years of coaching, anybody that's in the business of whether you're coaching or you're on the medical staff or you're on the equipment staff or whatever it might be, you're there to help people. You're there to once again help a team be the best it can be, and that is broken down into individuals. Everybody has a responsibility. Everybody's is crucial. To make sure the equipment's in good shape, the training room, that the medical side of things is right. The academics, making sure. So it's truly one big team, and everybody that's doing that, they're there to help other people. They care about seeing, young men have success, young men, young women, whatever it might be. Once again, I only ever coached college football, but, my daughter ran track at Ole Miss. She was All-American at Ole Miss. So I saw how she was treated, but, anybody in the coaching or in the athletic world, whatever their role is, they're there to help young people be successful.
Well, and that's that transitions me right into the question about, life after coaching. It's amazing of the success you're having doing this Southern Ag business. And I've heard a lot of good things coming from that area. And I bet you those two worlds probably parallel each other real well, taking those coaching strategies into your employees, into the trucks, into everything to make it all work.
Well, it has. I mean, once again, we employ probably, between our own drivers and shops and, within the home office here, and then the outside trucks we run, we probably write 500 checks every Friday. So we're around a lot of people, and we have that same mentality here. Our job is to make sure we support our driver force. They're our players. And then their job is to make sure they get the job done for our customers. That's number one. There's nothing more important in our business than our customers and our drivers. They can replace me tomorrow, but we can't replace a good driver. Yeah. Good drivers make it happen. And so I stay on our maintenance staff, our safety staff, our operations staff. They know that. They know that we're here to support those drivers, which is our job to support. We have a great, great customer base. We've been very lucky, and we've doubled the size of this company. I've been here. December will be 14 years. We've doubled the size of the company since I've been here, and we've continued to have opportunities to grow, and everybody knows it's because our job is to do a job for a customer and support our drivers, the ones that really going to make it happen.
Right. Yeah, and that to me, that's what I was saying. It really sounds like these worlds parallel real well, because you got a group of drivers that you're calling the players, and like a player on a Saturday, if they make the fans happy and win ball games, they're going to come back and buy more tickets.
That's right. There's no doubt. And it goes back to what we talked about recruiting. I go in to get business, go see customers. I want them to know they're important to me, to make sure they got their opportunity to do the best they can do with their business, and that we're there to support them. And I kind of grade our people just like I'm sure you remember the way we used to grade the films. I'd give every player 3 grades on every play. You'd have an assignment grade, a technique grade, and a production grade. And I always felt like the assignment grade and the technique grade, I always felt like that was my grade, Jim. If a player didn't know what to do and how to do it, that was my fault.
Right.
That means doing a good job as a coach. The same thing in business. If you got people working for you, they don't know what to do and how to do it, you're not a very good manager, or you're not a very good boss. Now, if they know what to do and how to do it, and they're not getting the job done, they're not producing because of effort or whatever it might be, then that's where you start making corrective actions. And then that's where, in the business world, I'm not going to make many corrective actions, then I'm a be in a replacement mode at that time. But I make sure that before my managers replace people, I make sure that assignment, that technique is understood. Because there's nothing worse than having to fire somebody that, hadn't been taught right or coached right or managed right in this business. So, yeah, it's what I did in coaching, I've carried it into business.
Well, and to bring us kind of to wrap all this thing up together for everybody listening is our signature series question that we love to use on this podcast every day is, if everything was over and the good Lord called Coach Nall home tomorrow and we were able to read a book that a former player or a former assistant or even an employee of yours wrote about you and wrote the story of your life, what would you hope people read?
Well, I would hope they know that, I've never been the biggest or the smartest or whatever, but I've always tried hard. I've always had a lot of want to. And then I've tried to treat everybody the same. Everybody that, with respect. And that's kind of like Marcus McNeil. We're walking off the field one day and he used a comment I won't say, but he said, Coach, what I like about you, it doesn't matter if you're a walk-on or a 5-star, you treat everybody the same. So I think that would straining your potential or trying to do the best with what you got and then treating everybody with respect. That's what I'd like for people to, remember. Well,
and that's about as well said as it can be said. And it's also, talking to the other people that have been involved in your life and been around you so much and talking. I even happen to know some of your family members and talking to your daughter, that to see how well she's transitioned and come through college so easy and working with the NCAA that's just as they say, a fruit off the old tree. She's got the right upbringing and it's made it easier for her life of having a good coach at home.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but that's 99% my wife, and she's. If her nickname is No Nonsense. So she's the one that raised those kids. But I appreciate you saying that, because we did, our household was that way. We luckily got 3 great kids, and all of them are being successful in what they're doing. But it's it was the way they were raised, and 99% of that was my wife. We've been together now. I think this next February will be 39 years. I think so.
Wow. Well, I want to say thank you for coming on today, and we really enjoyed the time and getting to hear the story that I've kind of already known a lot about, and just thank you for touching so many lives out there.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. It was a great opportunity, and I appreciate having that opportunity.
All right. Well, everybody out there listening and watching, go out there and like and subscribe us on YouTube. Check us out on all the major Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, all your great podcast areas. Go out there and listen to our next story upcoming. Thank you for tuning in.